the Rebbe spoke to the women on Rosh Chodesh Sivan Tafshin Mem Vav, and he was speaking about the Rosh Chodesh Sivan is the date when it was by Yichan from Yisrael, Neged Ahar, when the Jewish people encamped facing the mountain, and it says that encamped in the singular. That teaches us that the level of Avos Yisrael and Achdus Yisrael is what's necessary to be able to create the atmosphere necessary for Matan Torah. So the Rebbe spoke about that this is also specifically the domain of the women, that the wives, mothers, daughters, they are the ones that bring unity and oneness in the household, so that there is this joining of all the people in the household towards the same goal. And from that, it illuminates outwards into the world and into the street. And from that goes on further to bring the level of the transforming of the world as well outside in the same vein of warmth and peace that lives inside the home. And then the Rebbe connected it with the theme of the Kinnos, that the theme of the Kinnos that year in Tafshin Mem Vav of the Women's Convention was what Yirmiyahu Hanavi said, Yesh Sachar Lepulasech, there's reward for your actions, V'shavu Vonim Legvulam, and your children will return to their boundaries, going in the times of Mashiach, and this comes as a result of the transformation of the bitter to sweet, the transformation of the negativity of Golus into a state of unity, which is specifically, like we said, the domain of the women. So now the Rebbe is going to elaborate further on what Yirmiyahu Hanavi said. Yesh sachar lepulasech. What's the emphasis over here on your activities? B'hinei al avoida zu, concerning this avoida omer Hanavi, the Navi says, Yesh sachar lepulasech. There's a reward for your actions. Seemingly it's not understood. My kamashma. What is the pasuk? What does Yirmiyahu Hanavi come to tell us by this? Is there a need then to teach us that if we fulfill Hashem's command, we receive for this reward? This is an obvious thing. That Hashem pays recompense and reward from his full and open and holy hand. If a how much more so if a human being gives someone a job to do, so he pays them, he compensates them for it. So for sure Hashem compensates a person for what they do. So why does the Navi have to tell us, there's a reward for your action? Bir Bezad explanation, we're talking here about something that Hashem specifically did not say, but rather it's called Pi'ulah Seich. It's your activities. And this is similar to other Sichas that we learned that the Rebbe addresses the women, that even things that seem to be mundane activities, running the household, cooking, taking care of the children, checking the windows for drafts, etc., even that is part of the Avodas Hashem and part of what makes a Jewish woman a Mamleches Koyanim, a servant of Hashem. So even though it's not the same Sicha to the women, but it's the same idea again. So he says, Pasuk Zamlamdeinu, this Pasuk teaches us that Hashem pays a reward also for your actions. Even for an action that isn't a direct mission from Hashem. Seemingly, it is a side thing. Seemingly. It's only something that one is choosing. Similar to where it says all your actions should be for the sake of heaven, and all your ways you should know him. This means to say, even actions that are your actions and ways that are your ways, just like it says, your activities. Nasim chelik ma'avodas Hashem. This becomes a part of the service of Hashem. The kabel malzes charon, and one receives for it reward. And concerning our topic that we're talking about, the avoida of Jewish women, the direct work of the Jewish women is avidosam in atma. Their work that they do with themselves, ibnei abayis, with their family members, habal, vayilodim, the husband, and the children, ubeboyazman, and when the time comes, also gam hanachodim, also the grandchildren, toichidei stagrus bebayis cham, while being locked, enclosed in a warm home, or more, and an illuminated home, shaboy shoyra shchina, that the shchina dwells over there. So now he says like this. This is, as we said in that other Sicha, that is their direct mission. Their direct mission is to be involved in the world, in their home. Then there is the way how they're involved that is outside of the home, which doesn't seem to be their direct mission, which doesn't seem to be what they are meant, or one would think that they were meant to be doing. So he's saying, lost my place over here 1 second. And in addition to this, yes, gam pulosek, there's also your activities, your actions. Inyan stadi l'chura, a side thing. That it doesn't have a direct connection with her service. Uladugma, for example, as long as there's one Jewish woman, one Jewish girl, even on the edges of the earth, the globe, that still is not aware of all matters of Yiddishkeit. That in matters of Yiddishkeit, you, those that are present here today, were educated in, and you were told about, but they did not have the benefit of it. And afterwards, after you're being educated in it, you studied on your own, and this permeated you. There's no difference why there's a Jewish woman or a Jewish girl somewhere on the edges of the earth that is unaware and is not educated in Yiddishkeit. Maybe she is considered like a captive amongst the nations. She came about, found herself in a far away, far-flung area in the globe. Far-flung does not necessarily mean physical, or not only physical, but also primarily it's a far-flung place spiritually. Instead of this Jewish woman who benefited of her own education and her own study, instead of being just closed in her own home, they leave the home. They live to influence and affect also outwards. Including also the effort to call Baspi Yisrael, every Jewish woman, every Jewish girl, Gam Yalda Ktana, even a young girl, the Kabul Chinuch Yehudi Amiti should receive a true Jewish education. When the days of summer arrive, they will be in a true Jewish camp. This is something that the Rebbe always encouraged, that during this time, right before the summer, to work and to influence parents that normally, especially those parents that normally do not send their children to any Jewish schooling, should at least take the opportunity during the summer to send them to a Jewish camp. And therefore, they'll be able to receive some Jewish education during the summer. Until the effect that she does to increase peace in the world, like we said in the earlier part of the Sicha that the job of the woman, by increasing peace in the home, spreads that out into the world. That this avoid of influencing outside the home, that is called your activities. It's not a direct mission from Hashem. Like we said before, al derech ma'asecha v'derchecha, similar to your actions and your ways. Davar she'ein mefurish b'Torah, something that's not explicit in the Torah. El avoida sheboicher b'levad. It's only an avoida that the woman chooses on her own. Amnam yet yachadim zeh, along with the fact that she is choosing to do so, and it's not something that says explicitly she should do. This itself says in the Torah, it says that that Hashem will repay the reward of your pulasik. Since it's mentioned in the Torah, it becomes the mission of Hashem. Therefore, one has to occupy themselves with complete devotion, and with the complete devotion that the Eibishter implanted in every single Yid, and specifically what he implanted Nshei Yisrael in Jewish women. Therefore, despite the bitter exile, one should not lock themselves up in one's own private 4 cubits. One has to choose the avoida of your actions. To go out into the road, the public domain, even to a far-flung corner. That's a spiritually far-flung corner. To find over there Jewish women and Jewish girls, and through that you will also reach their families, and to give them the privilege of that all Jewish women received as an everlasting inheritance they received during Matan Torah. And afterwards it was transmitted generation after generation. And all of this is Ma'amira Raka, with a soft-spoken manner, with Avas Yisrael, out of a love for another Jew, Ad La'achtis Yisrael, until the unity of the Jewish people. So he goes on, Noishid Beis, Valzem Aftiach Hanavi, for this, the Navi Yirmiyahu promises, yes, there is a reward for your actions. This avoid, even though it's your actions alone. Hashem gives the full reward. As if this was a mitzvah that one was explicitly commanded on it directly. Reward as the way Hashem knows and understands what reward is. Moving, it's understood that the giving of the reward is in addition to the primary thing. The very privilege and merit that through the women they have the merit and privilege that they are able to fulfill the mission of Hashem. Concerning the reward itself, since reward and payment is given to a person that works, that fulfilled his job, especially when he does a type of work and a mission that the person doing the mission or work doesn't really need it for himself. He's doing it for Hashem's sake. Became still in all he does this mission with complete devotion and out of self-sacrifice. Therefore it's understood the reward is given in such a manner that it should be accepted by the shliach or shlicha, or by the feminine shliach that they fulfilled the action. The Rebbe is trying to say as follows: in addition to the fact that this is a reward that's given from Hashem, and this is the good of Hashem. So therefore, since it's the good of Hashem, what could be greater? But still, sometimes the good of Hashem is not always sometimes that we can appreciate. Because we know whenever we do Torah mitzvahs, it's spiritually great for us, but we don't necessarily feel or see how that is, and what's the benefits and so on. So the Rebbe is saying, the way the reward comes down, it's in such a manner that also the one that receives the reward can comprehend it. Until becomes that person's delight. Simply put, that the person receiving the reward receives everything they need, physically and spiritually. The way that person understands and comprehends in that person's human intellect. This means in addition to the reward of the life of the world to come and Gan Eden, that in general, that reward is a reward that has to do with the soul. The reward descends also in bodily matter. And in the matters of the body itself, not only concerning the head, also concerning the leg. Though it's the lowest part of the body, it's a Jewish foot. Therefore, the reward expresses itself also that the foot of the Jew becomes even more healthier. And receives additional energy and power and vitality in fulfilling its mission and role as a foot. What does that mean practically? So too in the analogy. In the life of a person, there are important things that are similar to the head. And the primary core things of life. And there are things that are secondary and are not so important. Also, they are part of his life. Similar to the foot of the body. Therefore, the ultimate reward is that one receives and accepts all spiritual matters. In Yon and Neshama, matters of the soul. There's in Yon Magashmim and all physical matters. In Yon Aguf, matters of the body. In Miluyam Ubashleim Musam, fully and perfectly. Ad Shagama Okiv Shavaregel, even the heel of the foot. Kaloima. In Yonim Shaba Adam, Sharuchnis Shabahami, Midab Chusa Beyoser, those matters of the person, that the spirituality that's invested in them is in a much lesser degree. Mikablas Aschar Shalom Loy Hamida, he receives his reward in the fullest measure. In this itself, the foot as a physical foot, and its actions and activities, betur pu'ula, gashmis, acting in a physical manner. Misbatzas ba'oifen hachi toivachi shalom is doing it in the best way possible, in the most perfect way possible, without any pain, without any concerns and worries, etc. Just the opposite. One receives also satisfaction from what one's doing. That adds even more so in the success of the activities. Like we see with our senses, the nature of a person. When a person is satisfied from what they are doing, it adds even more in his devotion and his willing to go out of the way to fulfilling and accomplishing the matter in the most perfect way possible, because he feels the satisfaction in doing it. You say to Mizah even more so. Shagama in Yonim Shalachura Einam Mesukim. Even things that seemingly are not sweet. Sweet. They're just the opposite of sweet. We said Yirmiyahu Navi was called Yirmiyahu Navi because of Mar. He was saying nevuah about the bitter gullus. So instead, the Jewish woman has this opportunity to transform it from darkness to light, including also those things that truly are not sweet. Not only they're seemingly not sweet, but they really aren't sweet. Since they are found in the public domain, like we were speaking about in the earlier part of Sicha last week, the outside of the Jewish home. So also in them we affect the transformation of darkness to light, like we spoke about earlier at length. What is the actual reward? Yirmiyahu died. The reward is like Yirmiyahu Navi, which we said before. Yirmiyahu was the Navi that spoke about Golus, and he spoke about bitterness. What did he promise? What did he say? V'shavu me'eretz oyev. They will return from the land of the enemy. V'shavu banim l'gvulam, and the children will return to their boundaries, to their Eretz Yisrael. Ayidei avoida b'chol in yonim ha'amurim, through the avoida and all the above mentioned matters. Yotzim me'eretz oyev kipshuta. We're leaving the physical, simple, literal land of the enemy. Ha'aretz she'ein Eretz Yisrael, the land that's not the Eretz Yisrael. Balachas kama v'kama me'eretz she oyev, is how much more so leaving a land that's an enemy land. Koil hayitzia me'artzius, also including leaving earthiness behind. Eretz chumris, a materialistic type of land. She'ena heves alakus tara v'kedusha, a land that doesn't love godliness, purity, and holiness. Uboim, and they come. V'shavu banim, the children will return ligvulam to their boundaries, la'eretz Yisrael, to Eretz Yisrael. Ubad gosh, and the emphasis is v'shavu banim ligvulam, that the children will return to their boundaries. Hainu shashiva ligvulam, this means the return to their boundaries. From the banim, it's in such a manner of children. Through the fact that by all ye, men and women, the young and the old, and the older ones, the minors and those are over bar mitzvah. The b'nai yechidim shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu has revealed the love of an only child of Hashem. Like the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, that the love that Hashem has for every single yid, from the youngest to the greatest. It's like the love of an only child that was born to their parents when the parents were already old. After awaiting a child for tens of years. From this is understood how much they are bound up and dependent on this only child. So how much the same type of love like those elderly parents has for a child that was only born in their older age, so too Hashem has for every individual yid. If we could add, and this idea is also hinted, gam haderech, also the path. How do we actually attain this goal? How are we going to attain this promise that Hashem says that the children will return to their boundaries, will return to Eretz Yisrael? Every single yid is in a state and situation of being an only child. And along with being an only child, we say in the plural sense the children will return. Not a single Jew will remain behind in Golus. All Yidden will come to their true boundary, in the true land, Eretz Yisrael, Eretz HaKodesh, Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, out of joy and gladness of heart. In the reign of his Kanenu Geimer, in my name of Nshei with our youth and our elderly and our sons and our daughters. To speed up even more so the fulfillment of this promise. We need to add even more so in our actions and our service. Beginning from the main idea of this convention, which was held twice a year, to take upon oneself good resolutions. First and foremost, they're good because of their content. Because they have the true goodness. And they're also good in being accomplished. They actually are done. The action is what's primary. Appropriate to the holy mission that each one of you has. And the end and the goal of the innermost mission is to make for the Eibishter a home down here below. Regardless of the fact that I guess before the Rebbe addressed the women, they already had resolutions that were done at the convention. Since there's a few hours still remaining that the convention is still continuing, the capability of every single woman to use these last hours of the convention to add an increase even more so. Everything connected with her and to everything around her, concerning all matters of this convention. And specifically, from this gathering, from this convention, should come out a kol koide, an announcement, a proclamation, permeated with love and unity amongst Yidden, to all Jewish women and girls, including even the youngest girls. Each one of them should increase in their fullest strength and power, loving another Jew and the unity of another Jew. Since the love of another Yid, that's the entire Torah. Through increasing the love of another Yid, it'll be added automatically in all matters of Yiddishkeit and Torah and its mitzvahs. Surely they will do this out of joy and gladness of heart with a great success and much success. Then it will also be fulfilled the bracha that the leader of our generation, my father-in-law, used to wish and give the bracha, the acceptance and receiving the Torah with joy and internalize the bracha of tzaddik, especially the leader of the generation. The davar nitzchi is an everlasting matter. That its influence is everlasting. As it is customary in such type of occasions, after we mentioned in the talk Psukim from Torah, also we had matters of davening, till the main davening that the Beis Hamikdash should be built speedily in our days. Nesayim being that tzedakah, we will conclude with the idea of tzedakah, mitzvahs, that is equal to all the mitzvahs. So Makareva Gula brings the Gula closer. Therefore, representatives of those participants in the convention should approach to receive the bills of the dollar bills for the purpose to give out to all of those that are present here. $2 bills. $1 bill to use on their own. If she wants, she can give it as her own stock if that she wants. If not, she can do with it whatever else she wants. Basheni, and the second bill that I'm giving out is Lakayim Mitzvah Avos Yisrael, to fulfill the mitzvah of loving another Jew. Through giving this bill to her fellow, so she should fulfill the mitzvah of tzedakah. This is a very interesting thing. The Rebbe did not give the people, in this case, we know that throughout dollars, the Rebbe always gave dollars for people to give out tzedakah. So essentially, when you went by the Rebbe for $1, you were a shliach of the Rebbe to give this dollar to tzedakah. But of course, people held on to the dollar and they switched it for a different dollar. But here the Rebbe is saying something else. $1 is for yourself. Since it's yourself, you could choose to do with it what you want, give it to tzedakah or use it for anything else. And the second dollar is to give to another woman as an encouragement, as something that that other woman will give to tzedakah. Again, it didn't have to be that dollar; it could be a different dollar. But the main point was he made the women shluchim to be mishalchim of people that are going to give tzedakah. Like we said before, that tzedakah is so great that it brings the geula close. But pashtus and simply said, what does it mean that geula is going to be close? This was said on Rosh Sivan, that we will merit to celebrate the receiving of the Torah with joy and internally in Chag Shavuos. That this very Chag Shavuos, Yach the Mashiach Tzekenu B'Eretz Yisrael, along with Mashiach in Eretz Yisrael, B'Sham Gufa, and there itself in Eretz Yisrael, B'Yerushalayim Mir HaKodesh, in the holy city of Yerushalayim, B'Sham Gufa B'Har HaBayis, and there itself on the Temple Mount, Koilai Liel the Regel, including also being Oil the Regel, the pilgrimage, the Chag HaShavuos, the Beis HaMikdash, in the Beis HaMikdash. The Cholza and all this, V'mheiro V'meinu Mamish, speedily in the Reis Mamish, take V'miyad immediately. Kasha Boy Chag HaShavuos, you calling you on the Mela B'derech HaMela, so that when the Yom Tov Shavuos comes, everything will be already done. We'll be there. We'll be ready. And each and every one of us, Klal Yisrael, amongst the whole Klal Yisrael, will be Yachtim Kol Doiris, along with all the generations of Akisa Varam Neshech Niyofer. They will awaken and sing those that rest in the ground. Yachku b'Yachas Kabbalas HaTorah Mechodosh will celebrate together the receiving of the Torah anew. In such a way that Mashiach will teach the Torah to the entire nation, mamish in this year, and not of joy and gladness of heart.
Amen.